Eddie Brock is in his cell at Ravencroft, and a man enters his cell. You know, for a guy who enjoys spending his time with a head-eating alien monster, you're not so bad. Eddie is confused and asks, "And you are?" The man says, "Haven't you heard of me? During your meal times, you've had conversations with Curtis Connors and Max Dillon, both of whom mentioned me." "Oh, yeah, I know you. You're the stalker, is that right?" The man steps out of the shadows and says, "You can call me the gentleman." Eddie says, "Okay, gentleman, why are you here?" "Well, when we questioned you, you said one of the main reasons you kept the deadly alien symbiote is because he saves the world from others of his kind. Now, what if I told you that the scientists here are currently planning to make a weapon that can compete with these kinds of threats? You see, Brock, I've come to you with an offer. Do you think you'd prefer to be a free man?" Eddie says, "Yeah, I think I'd prefer to be free." The gentleman grins and says, "Well then, I will set you free. But there is one thing you must do first."
2 seconds later.
A scientist takes blood samples from Eddie Brock. After Eddie is done, the gentleman puts him back in cuffs and takes him back to his cell. Eddie is confused and asks, "Now wait a second, you said you'd let me go." Gentleman laughs and says, "I told you that so you wouldn't struggle while we took the samples." Eddie says, "You used me." Gentleman smirks and says, "Don't worry, I didn't lie about the first part. We are making a weapon to protect humanity from these threats. And who knows, maybe this weapon could even defeat the Spider-Man." Gentleman then leaves Eddie in his cell. Back in the lab, the gentleman asks the scientists if they are ready for the next test. The scientist turns around and it's Flash Thompson. After high school and college, he became a scientist at Ravencroft. Flash says that the test is ready. He walks over to Venom's containment and extracts a sample. He puts the sample of Venom inside a testing tube and then extracts the white blood cells from Eddie Brock's blood and mixes it with the anti-venom solution. He takes a sample of the anti-venom and puts some into the test tube with the sample of Venom. The sample starts bubbling and it turns white. Suddenly, the symbiote leaps up out of the tube into Flash's face. Flash screams really loud, and the symbiote goes inside of him. Flash's eyes and mouth glow red. White symbiote tendrils come out from Flash's whole body and wrap around him. He transforms into a large white symbiote creature. The gentleman and other scientists in the room rush out and press a buzzer that sounds an alarm all across Ravencroft, and the entire institute goes on lockdown. The new anti-venom creature lets out a loud roar and runs around the lab, smashing everything. He bumps into Venom's containment and unintentionally frees him. Venom sneaks away. Back in Eddie's cell, he hears an alarm and looks out of his cell through the bars to see what's going on. He hears nothing but the alarm and a bunch of things breaking and a loud roar. Seconds later, the Venom symbiote shows up at Eddie's cell and reunites with him. "Venom, what's going on?"
"Gentleman created a new symbiote. We must stop him before he escapes this place."
"Why don't we just let him go? This place sucks."
"There is no letting him go, Eddie, if we cannot reason with him. And from what I've seen of him so far, I don't think that will work."
Venom breaks out of the cell and catches up with Anti-Venom. Venom grabs Anti-Venom by the neck and holds him up. Venom says,
"We know you do not like this place, and neither do we."
Anti-Venom screeches at Venom. Venom says,
"Calm down. We will let you go. But first, you must listen to us."
Venom drops Anti-Venom. Anti-Venom asks,
"What do you want, Venom?"
Venom says,
"We just want you to understand that killing innocent people is wrong. You don't have to hurt anybody unless that person is very, very evil. In that case, you can kill or eat them."
Anti-Venom says,
"You think I don't know the difference between right and wrong? I just don't care."
Anti-Venom grabs Venom and throws him through the roof. Venom is thrown so far that he actually lands outside of Ravencroft. Eddie is terrified and asks, "Whoa, did you see that?"
Eddie, I do not think stopping him is possible.
"No, Venom, don't talk like that. We're just unprepared. I think you might have just underestimated him."
Eddie, He threw us all the way out here. We stand no chance.
"What if we got Spider-Man to help us?"
No, Eddie. Parker is too weak.
"Yeah, well, so are we."
I don't mean physically, Eddie. Parker will not take that extra step to ensure that Anti-Venom hurts no one ever again. We must do this alone.
Nonetheless, Spider-Man had been watching from a rooftop, listening to Venom and spying on him. Venom gets up and starts swinging to catch up with Anti-Venom. Spider-Man follows. When Venom catches up with Anti-Venom, Spider-Man decides to let the two symbiotes fight it out and then take down the last one standing. This time, Venom has the element of surprise and gets the first attack on Anti-Venom. Anti-Venom screeches in pain as Venom bites into his shoulder. Anti-Venom grabs Venom and holds him up by his neck. Anti-Venom turns his other hand into a sharp spear and stabs Venom up into his jaw and through the back of his head. Venom breaks the spear off of Anti-Venom's arm and pulls it out of his face. He uses it to stab Anti-Venom through the chest. Anti-Venom just absorbs the spear. Back on the rooftop, Spider-Man is watching the fight, waiting to strike when one of them loses. He looks up and sees a third symbiote on the rooftop across from him. The third symbiote leaps down to attack Venom. The symbiote fights Venom and Anti-Venom. Spider-Man is confused. How could there be three sides? That's when Spider-Man becomes curious as to why exactly the symbiotes are even fighting. One of them might be good. He decides to intervene in the fight. Venom starts losing the fight badly, and the third symbiote almost kills Venom. Spider-Man kicks the third symbiote in the face just before killing Venom and asks who he is. The third symbiote calls himself Toxin and explains that he's only trying to stop Venom and Anti-Venom before they hurt anyone else. Anti-Venom grabs Spider-Man and Toxin. Suddenly, Spider-Man screams in pain. Anti-Venom was draining his powers. He looks at Venom, who is struggling to get back up, and realized that sometimes the world needed heroes who could compete with threats such as Anti-Venom. Spider-Man has an idea for him, Venom, and Toxin to team up. Venom agrees, but Toxin disagrees. Toxin says that Venom killed his father. Venom gets up and says,
Your father? Are you saying?
Toxin interrupts and says,
Yes, Carnage. He was my father, and you killed him.
Anti-Venom throws Spider-Man and Toxin aside and tells them to stay out of this. He then continues to fight with Venom, stabbing him multiple times with tendrils. Toxin is confused. Why would Venom be stopping the hostile symbiote? Wasn't Venom evil? He and Spider-Man leap forward to attack Anti-Venom, and together they free Venom. Toxin finally agrees to temporarily team up with Venom and Spider-Man. Toxin and Spider-Man rush to Venom's aid. Spider-Man distracts Anti-Venom with a web, and Toxin punches him from behind. Anti-Venom is caught off guard, and Venom shoots the symbiote web at Anti-Venom to restrain him. Spider-Man flips in to attack Anti-Venom while he's trapped, but Anti-Venom absorbs the symbiote webs and actually becomes even more powerful. Anti-Venom catches Spider-Man's foot before he can kick him and throws Spider-Man at Toxin, who was about to throw another punch. Venom stabs Anti-Venom with another symbiote blade, but Anti-Venom starts absorbing it, and slowly Venom becomes very weakened. Eddie asks what's going on, and Venom says,
Draining power.
Eddie gets ejected from Venom, and what's left of the Venom symbiote gets absorbed into Anti-Venom. Eddie screams, No! Venom! Eddie knows that he cannot take Anti-Venom as he is, but he doesn't care. Eddie slowly approaches Anti-Venom and says, I am the Lethal Protector! Eddie leaps forward to attack Anti-Venom, but in vain. Anti-Venom absorbs Eddie. Spider-Man and Toxin look on in horror. The world was doomed. How could they defeat a foe with such power? Suddenly, Anti-Venom falls to his knees and screeches really loud. The symbiote seems as if it's fighting itself. Both Eddie and Flash can be seen within the symbiote. Flash's eyes are completely whitened and his soul corrupted by the Anti-Venom symbiote. Eddie's eyes flash between white and normal. Spider-Man recognizes Flash and tries to speak to him. Flash? Flash? Flash's eyes flicker a bit. Spider-Man decides to take the risky move of unmasking himself. Flash? Hey, it's me. It's me, Peter Parker. Come on, Flash. Come on, you gotta fight it. Fight it, Flash. Come on. A tear flows from Flash's white eye. He fights the symbiote with nothing but his willpower. His eyes slowly flicker back to normal. Peter? I can't... run! I can't fight it for long. Spider-Man shoots a web at Flash and Toxin wraps a symbiote tendril around Eddie. Spider-Man and Toxin pull Flash and Eddie out of Anti-Venom. The Anti-Venom symbiote starts dying without a host. Eddie runs back to Anti-Venom. Spider-Man asks what the hell he thinks he's doing, but Eddie says, I'm getting my friend back. Flash yells, no, that won't work. But it was too late. Eddie had jumped into the Anti-Venom symbiote. Immediately, Eddie became corrupted, but Eddie didn't give up. He fought for his friend. He fought for Venom. Anti-Venom tells Eddie that there's nothing he can do. He is powerless to him. Eddie says that Anti-Venom was beaten before and could have died. Eddie says that they could just as easily do it again. Anti-Venom asks what Eddie wants. Eddie says, here's the deal. You give me my friend back, and we won't let you die. Anti-Venom reluctantly agrees to the deal and ejects Eddie from himself as well as Venom. Eddie and Venom rejoin, and Venom tries to eat Anti-Venom. Eddie interrupts and says, wait. I kind of promised we'd keep him alive if he gave you back.
Oh, what? Why would you make that promise?
Because I love you, Venom. You're my friend.
Fine.
Venom grabs Anti-Venom and runs away really fast. Toxin asks,
Hey, where are you going with him?
Venom says,
Don't worry. We will put him where he belongs.
Venom arrives at Ravencroft. He grabs the symbiote containment and puts Anti-Venom inside to keep him alive. He closes the containment and takes it all the way to the ocean. Why are we at the ocean? Eddie asked.
Venom says, You promised that he would not die, not that he would be free.
Venom swims down to the bottom of the ocean and places the Anti-Venom containment behind some seaweed in a cave. And Venom swims back up to the surface. Venom and Eddie start laughing. They can't stop giggling and are grateful that they made it out of another crazy adventure alive. Spider-Man goes back home to spend some more time with Aunt May before heading back to college. And Toxin is in the city, jumping from rooftop to rooftop. He is now committed to the life of a superhero. The end. The post-credit scene takes place in the ocean, and a shark swims by. Its eyes flash with white. The camera pans over to find a broken symbiote containment laying on the ocean floor. The end.